Hello, Krakukra here. This is the fourth video about the new features introduced in 1.3 revision of PocketAdmin. This one will be about camouflage features. These are basically several new pre-configuration commands which make the device appear more like an ordinary USB flash drive. The reason behind all this is that sometimes you cannot easily get physical access to your target machine yourself. Sometimes you have to rely on actual end user of this target machine to plug the device themselves. We're talking about, let's say, you cannot get into the building, so you leave the device in the mailbox. Or maybe the machine was locked in some way, maybe powered off. So you leave the device on the desk, and maybe next day someone will actually unlock it and plug the device in, stuff like this. In these kind of scenarios, the user will expect the device to act as a normal USB flash drive, as closely as possible. If it doesn't, then the user will start to suspect something, and this might not be something that you actually want, depending on your situation. Let's take this payload as an example. You can see that it opens up a run line and then runs this PowerShell command in there. This PowerShell command searches for a storage device with FAT label set to drive, and from the root directory over there it runs PowerShell script called insert.ps1. So this one right here. This script doesn't have much inside, it just opens up Notepad, does nothing else. We don't really care about what it does. For our purposes, we just care about the general behavior under normal circumstances. So if I eject the device right now and then plug it back in, you will see several pop-ups show up briefly, which is alright. You know, you plug the new device in, you expect some kind of pop-ups. The notepad got opened, so you know the insert.ps1 was executed successfully. But there were several problems actually. Let's identify them and solve them one by one. First of all, you can immediately see that all these payload files were just thrown right into the user's face. It's not hard to imagine how a quick Google search can reveal that, okay, this device was a banned USB. That means something happened, that means I should, go to contact my security people, maybe systems administrator, etc. None of these files are really supposed to be seen by the end user. It may completely ruin your day. So, if in case you want to hide these files, what will you do? Well, what you can do is you can take advantage of this new use hidden region command. What it will do is it will basically make a particular portion of flash memory inaccessible to the host machine. Right now you can see there is a completely standard situation with the entire memory accessible, and there is only one partition, 95 megabytes in size. What we will do instead is we will alter the partition table. We will split this into two partitions, and then the use hidden region command will basically hide the entire first partition and anything at lower logical block addresses than this, which basically will include the partition table itself. Let's see how we can do this. If I go to the disk management here with a right click, disk management, you can see here is the device that we are interested in. We'll delete the previous partition, right click, delete volume, yes, and create two new partitions, new simple volume, next. Now you can see that the entire memory is 96 megabytes in size, but it only suggests 95 as a maximum. The reason behind this is that there is some padding area after the partition table. In our case it happened to be 1 megabyte. Basically 1 megabyte is already used. Since the biggest amount of hidden region is 16 megabytes, the actual partition can be no more than 15 megabytes in size. So let's use this. Click Next. Next. The file system should be set to FAT. Volume label we don't really care about right now. Next. Finish. And now for the second partition, let's also format it as a FAT file system. 80 megabytes, yes. But this one we should label as drive. Simply because our payload script actually relies on this label, as you may remember. Next, finish. Now, we should split all the files between these two partitions. So I'll go to the hidden partition, the first one. Place all the payload files over here, and we will need all of these, but not the insert ps1. Insert ps1 we still need to have accessible once the device is plugged in. So this one we have to relocate to the second partition. Now in config.txt we have to add the use hidden region command. And now let's see how it will work for us. I will eject both the drives. And now you will see that when I plug it back in, it runs the payload the same way, successfully. You see now the notepad window. Yes, here it is. However, it only shows up the second partition, which is 80 megabytes. Even in the disk management, it only sees 81 megabyte of capacity. Now, in order to get it back and edit the payload files, you can use the MSD only button, as I will use right now. Or you can use the new method with the long caps lock toggle sequence. This will work the same way. You can see that now with the mass storage only button, it shows both partitions. And in the disk management, again, you can see both partitions available to you. The next thing that can look suspicious is capacity. You can see that the user will only see 80 megabytes. And this could be a little too small by modern standards. Okay, the user will expect something like 2 gigabytes, maybe 1 gigabyte at least. So how can we solve this? Well, here is where the second command comes in. Show fake capacity. This one will make the device lie to the host about how much storage space it has. And to activate it, we need to add show fake capacity and then a decimal number showing how much capacity should you pretend to have. Let's put 2048 to act as if the device has 2 gigabytes of storage available. I will eject the drives again. Now plug the device back in. You can see that the script was run again, but in our situation we're interested in the fact that in a device manager it shows as a 2 gigabyte drive. Now you can notice that the file system itself stayed at 80 megabytes. We can solve this by simply reformatting the partition again. Okay, yes, alright. And now if we want to, we can place the files again onto this new partition. It will work the same way. So if I eject the drive right now, plug it back in, it runs the payload, and here is the notepad window successfully. Now it could actually look and feel like a real capacity. For example, if I take a this ISO image over here, which is remarkably bigger than the actual real available space, and I could try to paste it over here. It will still succeed, and I will speed up the process for you. Now you can see it has finished overwriting its real capacity, and now it keeps accepting the data, even though it doesn't actually write anything. The only difference is that the process goes a bit faster now. Now you can see that the file was stored successfully. Of course, if you try to read it back, you will get corrupted data inside. But if you go to the files that were saved previously, you will get all the data as it was. Now there is one more thing that can cause you some trouble, which is, as you probably have noticed, the payload runs every single time you plug the device in. You might argue that, for the first time you plug the device in, the user doesn't really pay attention, so you don't care as much. But if all these pop-up windows show up absolutely every single time the device is plugged in, it might look suspicious. So this is where the sort command, first insert only, comes in. Let's reboot the device into the mass storage mode. This time I'm gonna use a long caps lock toggle sequence. Here we go, it rebooted. We'll go to config.txt and add this command. First, insert only. And what it will do is it will prevent the device from running the on-insertion payload more than once. Let's eject the drives and see how it will work for us. You can see that when I plug the device in the first time, the pop-ups show up and the payload runs. There is a storage available for you, and here is the notepad indicating that the script was run successfully. Okay, now eject the drive and plug it in a second time. Now it shows up the storage space, but no pop-ups this time. Okay, let's try again. Eject and plug it in again. You can see again only storage. How does this work? Well, turns out there is a new file created in the first partition called no-insert. Here you can see this. And this file acts as a block for any kind of on-insertion payloads. The only way to make on-insertion payloads run again is to manually delete this. And in this case, the payload should start executing again. So now I plug it in after manually restarting it. And you can see that the payload was run, storage is available, and the script is successful. Now, of course, you can find more information in the wiki about this, but you should be a little extra careful with these camouflage features, because if you don't know what you're doing, you can cause some kind of damage to the file system and start getting some kind of weird errors because of this. So please know what you're doing beforehand, and if you break your file system, you should be able to just, rewrite the partition table and reformat stuff if necessary. Now, see you later.